What if I told you the Avengers are walking away from Disney for Sony? Tom Holland and other MCU heavyweights might be ditching Disney for a massive deal with Sony Pictures. Could this truly be the biggest Hollywood shakeup since Endgame? To unpack all of this, many of the actors we came to adore as the original Avengers, the foundational six who kicked off this incredible saga, had multi-picture deals that largely concluded with Avengers Endgame. Think about it. Robert Downey Jr.'s journey as Iron Man, Chris Evans' arc as Captain America, Scarlett Johansson's pivotal role as Black Widow, their contractual obligations, for many, were effectively fulfilled with that monumental film. What does that mean for them now? It means they are, essentially, free agents. They're no longer bound by extensive, long-term deals that dictate their every move. They're free to explore new roles, negotiate entirely fresh contracts with any studio, including Disney for potential future MCU appearances, or even pursue passion projects outside the blockbuster realm. We've already seen this in action. Robert Downey Jr. has branched into various other film genres, and Scarlett Johansson has expanded her production work and taken on more independent features. Now, let's pivot to the Sony element. We're talking, of course, about Spider-Man. Tom Holland's beloved Peter Parker has been able to swing seamlessly between the MCU and his solo adventures thanks to a highly specific co-production agreement. You see, Sony Pictures famously owns the live-action film rights to Spider-Man and a sprawling universe of associated characters: Venom, Morbius, Kraven the Hunter, and many more. Marvel Studios, under Disney, co-produces the films featuring Spider-Man within the MCU, but Sony still maintains significant creative input and, crucially, financial control over those solo Spider-Man movies. This intricate dance means that Sony is already very much in the Marvel-adjacent universe. So, when you hear whispers and rumblings of Avengers stars signing with Sony, it often stems from this existing relationship and the fertile ground of speculation that surrounds it. The question becomes, could some of these talented actors, whose long-standing contracts with Marvel are now complete, be approached by Sony to join their burgeoning universe of Spider-Man adjacent characters? Could they play different roles entirely within Sony's Spider-Man universe, or perhaps even make surprise cameo appearances as their original Avengers characters in Sony-controlled films, without direct Disney involvement, under some yet-to-be-disclosed new arrangement?
We've seen countless reports, amplified by various entertainment outlets, that delve into every facet of this speculation. They discuss everything from former Avengers actors being actively courted for rival DC Universe roles, to hushed whispers of lucrative new deals with massive streaming giants like Amazon or Apple. These reports frequently highlight the perceived discontent among actors, alleged demands for significantly higher pay, or simply a desire for more creatively diverse projects away from the green screen and the superhero grind. The idea of highly sought-after actors exploring their options beyond their lengthy, previous Marvel commitments is not only entirely logical, but expected in today's dynamic industry. Actors often express that global recognition holds significant sway. They're no longer just signing on for a job, but that they're influencing careers, negotiating for more profit participation, and carefully curating their artistic legacies. Disney is undoubtedly in a period of significant recalibration and strategic adjustment. Concurrently, many of the incredibly talented actors who helped build the MCU into a global phenomenon are now at a pivotal crossroads in their careers. The Sony deal aspect largely ties back to Spider-Man's existing, unique rights situation, and the very real possibility of other actors exploring exciting new opportunities beyond their long-term Marvel commitments. It's less of a mass, sudden defection, and far more of an ongoing, intricate evolution for both the biggest names in Hollywood and the sprawling cinematic universes they inhabit. Let's dive into Sony's master plan, because they're playing a long game in the superhero world, and it's getting very interesting. Sony is currently flexing its muscles more than ever. With Spider-Man 4 locked in for a July 2026 release, and rumors swirling about Tom Holland producing non-MCU projects like Burnt with Sony, the studio is signaling that it's not just along for the ride, it's steering its own course. They've also shown they can dominate independently, with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse winning an Oscar and grossing $384 million, followed by its sequel, Across the Spider-Verse, which soared to $690 million. These animated hits prove Sony can craft compelling, crowd-pleasing stories without Disney's help. The SSU, Sony's Spider-Man universe, is branching out boldly. Beyond the massive hit that was No Way Home, they're betting big on solo projects. Kraven the Hunter, starring Aaron Taylor Johnson, is set to release soon, and Madam Web aimed to introduce a broader cast of characters. They're even exploring television now with Spider-Man Noir, a gritty live-action series starring Nicolas Cage as a 1930s Spider-Man, coming to Amazon Prime. This bold experimentation outside of the Disney framework shows Sony's confidence in forging its own path. Why is Sony doing this? Because they hold a unique advantage. control over Spider-Man and over 900 related characters, including Venom, Silk, and Morbius. This means they aren't tied to Disney's sprawling multiverse saga or Kevin Feige's vision. They can build standalone stories, introduce multiverse versions of Spider-Man, maybe a live-action Spider-Gwen or a dystopian Peter Parker, or even create original heroes altogether. And Sony has already hinted at bigger things, like multiverse ties in Venom: The Last Dance and the No Way Home post-credit scenes. Of course, all of this builds on a foundation laid decades ago. Sony has been a major player since the 90s, when they secured the film rights to Spider-Man. Their biggest win to date? Spider-Man: No Way Home, a Disney-Sony co-production that exploded to $1.9 billion at the global box office in 2021. Before that, Sony launched the SSU with Venom, which earned over $850 million worldwide, followed by Let There Be Carnage. Not every gamble has paid off. Morbius struggled with just $167 million, but Sony's strategy has never been about one film. It's about playing the long game. Now let's zoom in on the beating heart of this drama, Tom Holland, the MCU's Spider-Man, who's walking a tightrope between Disney and Sony that could reshape the superhero landscape. Holland's been the face of Spider-Man since he swung into Captain America: Civil War in 2016, stealing scenes and hearts as Peter Parker. But he's not just Marvel's golden boy. He's Sony's biggest asset too, thanks to their control over Spider-Man's film rights. And lately, Holland's career moves are fueling some serious speculation about where his loyalties lie. Holland's production company, Billy 17, inked a deal with Sony to produce Burnt, a psychological thriller that's completely outside the MCU. This isn't just a one-off. Holland's also attached to The Rosie Project, a Sony-backed romantic drama, and he's producing other non-superhero films like Fred Astaire, showing he's diversifying his career beyond Spidey's web. Then there's Spider-Man 4, confirmed for July 2026, a Disney-Sony co-production that keeps Holland tethered to both studios. That's a lot of Sony on his plate. And it's got fans wondering, is Holland leaning away from Disney? Disney's been slashing salaries to rein in MCU budgets. Think Phase 6 cost-cutting after expensive flops like the Marvel's $270 million price tag for a $206 million return. If true, this could push actors like Holland towards Sony's open arms.
What could Sony have in store for him? Unlike Disney, Sony doesn't need to tie their films to the MCU's multiverse saga or Kevin Feige's master plan. They could cast Holland as a Spider-Man variant. Imagine a live-action Miles Morales, Spider-Punk, or even a darker Peter Parker in a gritty SSU film. Or they could go wild and put Holland in a non-Spidey role, like a new anti-hero in a Venom-style spin-off. Holland's proven he can carry dramatic roles. Look at The Devil All the Time or Cherry. So a Sony-led action thriller isn't out of the question. But it's not just about Holland. Picture Chris Hemsworth, Thor himself, as a cosmic mercenary in a Craven-style action flick, or Scarlett Johansson leading a Black Widow spin-off that's all Sony's, free from Natasha Romanoff's MCU death. Robert Downey Jr., fresh off his Avengers Doomsday Doctor Doom casting, could play a multiverse villain in Sony's universe, say, a rogue Iron Man variant. Why would stars jump ship? It's because of Disney's penny pinching. If Marvel's offering lower pay for projects like Avengers Secret Wars, actors might see Sony as a chance to cash in and flex creative muscles. For Holland, it's a balancing act. Stay with Disney for MCU fame, or lean into Sony for new opportunities. His Burnt deal shows he's already testing Sony's waters, and Spider-Man 4's co-production means he's not fully cutting ties yet. So, what does this mean for Disney? The MCU has been the undisputed king of superhero cinema since Iron Man kicked things off in 2008. But right now, it's facing some serious turbulence. Disney's been open about hitting the brakes on the MCU's output. Fewer films, tighter budgets, and a pivot to quality over quantity after Phase 4's rocky reception. Movies like The Marvels, which cost $270 million but only grossed $206 million, and Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which underperformed, have forced Disney to rethink their strategy. Avengers Secret Wars, originally planned for 2025, is now delayed to 2027, and projects like Thunderbolts and Captain America: Brave New World have hit production snags. If Holland prioritizes Sony projects like Burnt or The Rosie Project, or worse, if he scales back his MCU role after Spider-Man 4 in 2026, Disney could lose one of their biggest draws. Spider-Man's crossover appeal, bridging the MCU and Sony's SSU, is critical for Phase 6's multiverse saga, especially with films like Avengers Doomsday, banking on interconnected storytelling. Losing other stars would be even more brutal. The MCU's strength has always been its ensemble. Think Avengers Endgame's iconic team-up,
If actors like Hemsworth or Johansson jump to Sony for original projects, it could erode fan trust at a time when Disney's already on shaky ground.
But Disney's not out of the game yet. They've got bright spots, like Deadpool and Wolverine, which is crushing it at the box office in 2024, showing the MCU can still deliver hits. Robert Downey Jr.'s return as Dr. Doom in Avengers Doomsday is a massive coup, signaling Disney's willing to spend big to keep fans hooked. They could counter Sony's moves with richer contracts or new projects to lock in Holland and others. For example, offering Holland a bigger role in Secret Wars or a solo Spider-Man trilogy could keep him in the MCU fold. Disney's also got a loyal fanbase and the Marvel brand's global pull, something Sony's SSU hasn't fully matched. Still, the stakes are high. If Disney can't stabilize their release schedule or keep their stars, they risk ceding ground to Sony. The MCU is built on its interconnected magic. Lose that and the whole empire could wobble. And so that's the Avengers drama and Holland's tightrope. Will Holland stay MCU, or is Sony building an empire?